Good morning to Keep the Faith with Pastor Frank. Looks like I'm a little late this morning, but hopefully everybody hasn't given up on me yet. We're going to look at Jesus before Pilate. So, uh, didn't get to do it. I got on Wednesday. Good morning, Sister Crystal. How are you doing? Good morning, Brother Lee. It's good to see you online. Good morning, Janine. Good to see you online this morning. We're going to talk about Jesus before Pilate and Mark chapter 15. Good morning, Brother Lewis and Sister Gail. Brother James. Good morning, Sister Liz. Good to see you. Good morning, Pastor Gary. Good to see you online. So we're going to look at, like I said, Mark chapter 15. I started this yesterday morning before somebody let me know it was on Wednesday. Good morning, Sister Zena. Good to see you. And so, since I don't broadcast on Wednesdays, I could just cut it short. We had a short little devotion. But so in Mark chapter 15, we talked about Jesus in the garden. Now we'll just go ahead and talk about Jesus before Pilate. Well, Jesus was taken early on the evening and went before the chief priests and the whole council. And this says in verse 1, very early in the morning, the leading priests, the elders, and the teachers of religious law, the entire high council, met to discuss their next step. They bound Jesus, led him away, and took him to Pilate, the Roman governor. Pilate asked Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus replied, "You have said it." Then the leading priests kept accusing him of many crimes, and Pilate asked him, "Aren't you going to answer them? What about all these charges they're bringing against you?" Jesus said nothing, much to Pilate's surprise. Now, it was the governor's custom each year during the Passover celebration to release one prisoner, anyone the people requested. One of the prisoners at that time was Barabbas, a revolutionary who had committed murder in an uprising. And the crowd went to Pilate and asked him to release a prisoner as usual. "Would you like me to release to you this king of the Jews?" Pilate asked, for he realized by now that the leading priests had arrested Jesus out of envy. But at this point, the leading priests stirred up the crowd to demand the release of Barabbas instead of Jesus. Pilate asked them, "What should I do with this man you call the king of the Jews?" They shouted back, "Crucify him." "Why?" Pilate demanded. "What crime has he committed?" But the mob roared even louder, "Crucify him." So to pacify the crowd, Pilate released Barabbas to them. He ordered Jesus flogged with a lead-tipped whip, then turned him over to the Roman soldiers to be crucified. And that's a lot of stuff to going on, but so very early in the morning, Jesus was taken to before the high priests, before the council, and they took him very early to Pilate. Now, when this disturbance was uh, uh, had to be dealt with, Pilate had to deal with it. He got there. Jesus was accused of a lot of crimes. Pilate was asking Jesus, um, you know, aren't you going to answer them? He was really surprised that Jesus wasn't trying to advocate his innocence in the presence of all of the accusations that was happening. And then he asked him, uh, uh, you know, are you the king of the Jews? And really more as uh, a question of, he really wanted to uh, figure out what was going on. He said, are you the king of the Jews? And Jesus said, said it, but that just incited them to accuse him more of everything. Then it was uh, Pilate's custom each year to release a prisoner. Now, the prisoners were in prison for everything from nothing to murder. And this is actually Barabbas had killed someone during an uprising. So he asked them which one they wanted to do. Now, one of the things that people kind of get wrong is they think that the Jews were a part of this deal. Actually, it was mostly the council, the leading priests, the people there that were part of this. It really wasn't the whole Jewish population. It was the people that could fit in that courtyard, and most of those were the Jewish priests. And so the Jewish high priest, the priests, the leaders of the Jewish religious movement were those who got Jesus sentenced to death. So once Barabbas was released, uh, Pilate had asked, what do you want to do with this man? Uh, and uh, they shouted, crucify him. And Pilate asked again, what crime has he committed? Pilate realized, and this is something that we need to understand, is Pilate realized that Jesus hadn't done anything. He was just being put on trial because the Jews envied his ministry, and they envied him and all of the things that he was doing. So we want to understand right now that Jesus stood there as all this is going on, as his fate was decided. So to just calm the crowd, to pacify the people, which by the way, may not always be the means to satisfy what needs to be done. Pacifying people doesn't always bring about the right result. So he said, he released Barabbas to them. He ordered Jesus flogged with a lead-tipped whip, and he turned them over to the Roman soldiers to be crucified. Now, what I want you to understand about this is it's really a pretty big deal. Once he turned him over to the Roman soldiers, there was nothing the Jews could have done to take Jesus back, even if they would have changed their mind. Once he was turned over to the Roman soldiers for crucifixion, his verdict was going to be carried out, regardless of what anybody thought. None of the Roman soldiers were going to go against Pilate. No, none of the Jewish leaders or anything were going to go against the soldiers. Once they turned him over, once they flogged him, and this was a terrible flogging, literally pulling the meat off of his bones, and then once he was turned over to the Roman soldiers, he was going to be crucified. So, and the they really, if you read down through this, they really, dressed him as a king. They put the crown of thorns on him. They saluted him, taunted him. They struck him and spit on him. They did all kind of things to him. And after they were tired of playing with him, they took him to be crucified. So when Jesus was taken in the garden early in the evening, he spent all night being questioned by the Jewish leaders. Early in the morning, he's taken before Pilate and sentenced. Then he's mocked, he's beaten, crown of thorns put on his head, uh, uh, and they did everything they could to degrade him, to humiliate him, and then they took him to crucify him. So you have to understand that when Jesus, after the Last Supper that he took with his disciples, things moved very quickly as far as time goes, but agonizingly slow for Jesus to go through. I can't imagine being there all night long and all day long being questioned and humiliated and beaten, flogged, and then taken to be crucified. That's a terrible thing that's done. But I want you to just kind of think about just a minute what Jesus actually went through so that you and I could be free, so that you and I could enjoy the freedoms we of religion that we do, being able to make a choice. And I think it's wonderful. We're coming up on the celebration of the 4th of July, Independence Day, where this country proclaimed its independence from those that oppressed it. And I tell you the truth, Jesus on this day gave us our independence over sin and all of the things that trappings that go with it. So it was a terrible thing, and I think, to stand before someone to be accused without any real proof, and then be crucified just to calm down the Jewish people. Now that actually didn't really work so well, but and Pilate crucified an innocent man, knowingly crucified an innocent man. He had to live with that the rest of his days. So I want you to understand that as we go through life and we face hard times and hard decisions, just think about the time that Jesus spent from the garden to the cross, and you'll understand that Jesus understands what it's like when you pray. He knows what it's like to go through many of the things that you and I will go through in this life. So when you pray, understand that he understands and he hears, and he will strengthen you. He will help you to be able to do what you need to do in this world and in this life. So this morning, I just wanted to share that with you. God bless you. Lord willing, I'll see you in the morning at 6:30, and keep the faith.